Hello, my name is Josh Miller and I'm the Operations Director at StackRack. In this video, I'll be going over PowerStation Pro and how you, as solar professionals, solar installers, and electricians, can use this product to offer your customers a customized, cost effective energy solution for net metering 3 and beyond. I'm going to tailor this video towards California, but I think this will continue to be applicable in more states going forward based on industry trends and current net metering policies that are facing changes across the country. So, with that, let's get started. Welcome to Net Metering 3, and with it, so many changes to the California solar industry. In Net Metering 2, solar systems were straightforward to design, install, and commission. The majority of systems were non battery, grid tied systems based on the customer's annual production. Now, Net Metering 3 uses the avoided cost calculator to price exports to the grid with values that change by the hour, day, week, and year. This reduces the average export rate for residential solar electricity from 30 cents a kilowatt hour to 8 cents a kilowatt hour, which is a 75% reduction. There are still non bypassable charges, time of use rates, annual rate increases, and now a fixed monthly charge based on annual income. The point is, all of these new factors and variables are just making it more complicated for customers to understand the benefits of solar and for solar professionals like yourself to sell it. By now, most customers understand that net metering 3 requires battery storage to make financial sense, but batteries do add to the overall cost of the installation along with additional labor and commissioning. So, for net metering 3 and beyond, what's the right solar and battery solution that helps return us, both the customers and the solar professionals, to the most simplistic and straightforward days of net metering 1 and 2? How can customers get a great system that helps them save in the long run while also having a short ROI? And how can installers design, permit, install, and commission these systems in a simple, quick, and cost effective way that allows you to increase your installations and grow your business? After listening and working closely with solar installers, we believe that PowerStation Pro can be the solution for all of your residential systems in net metering 3 and beyond. I'll go into more detail shortly, but first, let's take a quick look at where energy in California is now and where it is likely going in the near future. California's green initiatives and goals will require significant cost for utility companies who will pass along these costs to customers in the form of additional fees and higher rates. What we're seeing now is just the beginning, and it's only going to get worse. And this is a sad reality for all California residents, but it also presents an amazing opportunity for solar professionals, a completely new market with tremendous need for many years to come. So, considering what we just talked about, the long term solution for net metering 3 and beyond is solar and battery systems designed to help customers cut ties with their utility company. It's about giving customers grid independence by generating, storing, and using their own energy. And this touches on not just a financial level, but also an emotional one. It's taking control away from the utility companies and putting it back into the hands of the customers. And the key to giving your customers more grid independence is with more battery storage. More battery storage allows for more solar and batteries helps the customer avoid both peak and mid peak grid energy, which helps them minimize their electric bill and protect them from future rate increases and tariffs. Now, I just mentioned how solar and more battery storage can help customers avoid not just peak, but also mid peak energy as well. To explain why this is important, let's look at the levelized cost of solar and battery systems, which takes the entire cost and divides this over the lifetime usable kilowatt hours of the system to provide a cost per kilowatt hour. In this example, we're using $3.50 a watt for solar and $1,000 a kilowatt hour for battery storage. When you factor in the ITC, the levelized cost comes down to 21 cents a kilowatt hour. In the upper left graph, you see a typical time of use rate. These values are from Southern California Edison. On the upper right graph, you can see how the solar and battery system can help the customer save. During the day, solar is powering the home at 6 cents a kilowatt hour with extra solar energy charging the batteries. Once the sun goes down, the batteries will power the home at 21 cents a kilowatt hour. With mid-peak prices at 28 cents a kilowatt hour, you can see how the customer benefits at 21 cents from having the additional solar and battery storage. And when you project 15 years from now, You can see how both peak and mid-peak rates have increased in the upper left graph, but the customer's costs have remained the same on the upper right. The upper right graph demonstrates self-consumption, where the customer will generate, store, and use the energy, but limit export back to the grid only if the batteries are fully charged. Overall, we find that 30 kilowatt hours works really well for self-consumption. For the average home that uses 30 kilowatt hours a day, this provides around 85% grid independence. For homes that use more than average energy, 30 kilowatt hours still works well to cover the peak and some mid peak energy. And when it comes to solar, we find that most homes benefit from 8 to 12 kilowatt hour systems based on roof size and orientation. Now, let's compare self consumption to peak sellback, where you prioritize discharging the batteries during peak times to avoid expensive pricing and maximizing credits based on the avoided cost calculator. This is a common strategy that works best for smaller battery systems that are 10 to 20 kilowatt hours, but there are some downsides. First, the customer is exposed to higher cost if mid peak prices increase. And second, any ROI based on energy exports and bill credits puts the customer at the mercy of the utility company. The utility company effectively holds all the cards. As we discussed earlier, the avoided cost calculator changes by the hour, day, week, and year. So there is no guarantee that the customer will be credited for energy they export 5, 10, or 15 years from now. And finally, let's see how levelized cost of battery storage can be used to evaluate energy arbitrage and if it's worth it. To be clear, energy arbitrage here is referring to charging the battery from the grid during mid peak times and discharging the battery during peak times. In this case, you're charging when prices are at 28 cents a kilowatt hour and the levelized cost is 15 cents a kilowatt hour, so the energy used during peak time is 43 cents a kilowatt hour. This only gives the customer an 8 cents a kilowatt hour financial gain. When you compare 43 cents a kilowatt hour to 21 cents a kilowatt hour with solar and batteries, you can see the importance and real benefit of solar and net metering 3. This is PowerStation Pro, our all-in-one battery solution for net metering 3. It features a 12 kilowatt hybrid inverter and up to 30 kilowatt hours of storage in an outdoor rated battery cabinet. We designed PowerStation Pro with solar professionals knowing that every home uses energy differently and every installation has its unique challenges. So, an important goal when designing PowerStation Pro was really simplifying and standardizing the installation as much as possible. And a key feature to accomplishing this is mounting the inverter onto the cabinet. This means that every inverter and battery installation for every project is the same, with the only variables being the conduit lines connecting to the customer's electrical panel and solar equipment. PowerStation Pro has a modular plug-and-play design that allows up to 6 battery modules to be installed in minutes. This makes it very easy to offer customers different battery system sizes with the option to expand at any time. PowerStation Pro is powered by our SR5K UL battery modules. These are 5 kilowatt hour lithium iron phosphate batteries that weigh just under 100 pounds. Each battery has a dedicated breaker with Amphenol terminals. Each battery has an LCD screen to monitor important battery data and program the BMS. You can connect up to 64 batteries together while still maintaining closed loop communication with the inverter, and the batteries are UL9540A, SGIP, and CPUC listed. PowerStation Pro features the LuxPower 12K hybrid inverter. If you have used SolarArc before, then this unit will look very familiar. If you are more familiar with AC coupled batteries like Enphase, Tesla, and Franklin, then think of this unit as a combination of a string inverter and the system controller gateway or A-gate. The LuxPower 12K features 12 kilowatts of continuous power output. There are 3 MPPTs for up to 18 kilowatts of DC coupled solar. You can also AC couple up to 90 amps or 21 kilowatts of existing solar. There is a 200 amp grid pass-through feature that I will talk about in just a minute. The unit comes with an extra large conduit box to make it easier to work with larger gauge wires. Programming and settings are simple and straightforward. On the right side, there's a few examples of the LCD screen layouts and settings options. When it comes to commissioning, we often tell installers if you can get the batteries wired and the inverter Wi-Fi connected, then LuxPower and StackRack can assist with remote firmware updates, programming, and commissioning. For PowerStation Pro, we also offer a 500 watt automatic AC heater. The unit only operates when temperatures reach 95 and 35 degrees. Otherwise, the unit is on standby. This ensures the batteries are protected from temperature extremes, which improves performance and longevity. Currently, these units are an optional add on, but later this year, they will be included with every PowerStation Pro system. Okay, we talked about the current and projected state of energy in California, the challenges in net metering 3, and the importance of eliminating not only peak but mid peak energy for the customer. We also talked about how PowerStation Pro is an all in one unit that includes the inverter, battery cabinet, batteries, battery cables, and conduit box with the same standardized installation for every project. Now let's talk about how you can use PowerStation Pro to scale and increase your sales volume. In the next few slides, I will show you 3 different ways to sell PowerStation Pro for all of your residential customers. The first way shown here is self-consumption with no backup. I believe this should be your leading sales proposal for residential customers for several reasons. First, most homes don't require home backup, and with this installation, the customer gets all the financial benefits of properly sized solar system that significantly reduces their grid energy. Second, this installation is the same as grid-tied no battery installs of net metering 1 and net metering 2. It's simple to engineer and permit, and it has the lowest installation cost and shortest installation time. Plus, you get the added benefit of connecting existing grid-tied solar systems. You can choose a convenient location outside to install PowerStation Pro and then run a single 3/4 inch conduit line with 6 or 8 gauge wires from the conduit box to the main panel. Then you can either run a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch conduit for your solar to the conduit box to complete your installation. This second installation method, which we will call home backup with subpanel, takes the installation setup that we just discussed, but now adds a backup loads panel. From a sales standpoint, I see this as being a nice adder that you can offer, and you can scale that adder based on the number of circuits you're moving to the dedicated loads panel. In this setup, the inverter will always power the load circuits, and it will actively push energy into the main panel to minimize grid energy. For this installation, you will add the second conduit line for the loads panel. The size of the conduit line will be based on the number of circuits and the ampacity of the wires in the subpanel. This last installation method utilizes the inverter's 200 amp grid pass-through feature and allows you to offer customers whole home backup without a subpanel. I see this as a premium feature that you can offer customers because this converts their home into a standalone microgrid, and you can charge accordingly to provide this. Since you will be using thicker gauge high ampacity wires, this works best when you can place PowerStation Pro closer to the panel, as it will help reduce installation cost. In this installation, you will need to get to the wires between the meter and the main breaker. You can do this by either unlocking the meter and removing the wires from the UL listed lugs. From the installers we work with, I have been told that this is called the Hawaiian tie-in. Another option is supply tap using a piercing copper connector. From the meter, the wires will go to a 200 amp fuse disconnect, and then to the grid terminals in the inverter, and then out from the load terminals of the inverter to the main breaker and the main service panel. If the customer has some large loads, such as central air conditioning units or EV chargers, you have the option of doing some load management by moving these loads to a 60 amp subpanel and connecting the panel to the gen port of the inverter. You can program the gen port to be a smart loads output and then shed these loads during a grid outage. And if the customer wants to run the central air conditioning units during a grid outage, we would recommend soft start devices. And this is what the installation will look like. You will need to run 2 2-inch conduits due to the wire sizes, but everything else remains the same. And here are a few pictures of PowerStation Pro installations. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this webinar. I hope this was helpful in providing you new ideas for success in Net Metering 3. We look forward to working with you, and have a great day.